My name is Chloe, and today I'm here to talk about all the books that I read last week. So it has been a big week of reading. So let's just get into it. So I have a few middle grades here. I have 5 middle grades to talk about, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish, 7 adult reads. So let's just get into it. So first, my kids and I read Trouble According to Humphrey. This is number 3 in the Humphrey series, maybe. It's just cute. It follows a class pet named Humphrey, and he is a hamster, and there's a frog, and the kids are creating a town in their, like a community. They're learning about community, so they create a town in their classroom, and so there's troubles there, and different roles and things, but also Humphrey goes home every weekend with different kids in the class, and some of the kids have rougher home lives, and he really wants to help. And so this is a really sweet story. I really like this series and would definitely recommend. Then we have Too Many Cats, which is number 1 in the Wish Fairy series by Lisa Ann Scott. So this is about a girl who runs into this fairy. She accidentally saves her life, and because she saved her life, she gets 7 wishes. And so she wishes for 100 cats. And of course, that's not going to work out. She's going to learn that that's not a great wish. But it's not just the typical, like, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of money to feed them, all that kind of stuff. There's a twist that I thought was actually really kind of cute and fun. And so I was pre-reading this. This is one that my daughters can read. And so I was pre-reading this for them. I think it's like a 4-book series, and it was wholesome. It was sweet. I know number 3 is about, like, popularity, which is not something I'm really interested. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to pass this on. Then together again, we read the Kicks Sabotage season. This is number 2 in the Kicks series. It's about this middle school girls soccer team. Both my girls are playing soccer, and so this is a really fun series to read. In this one, somebody is trying to sabotage them as they are trying to get into the playoffs, and they think they know who it is, and it's not. And so it was a really fun book. These are more read aloud type books, but there's that. Then I read 2 graphic novels by myself. First is Chickenpox by Remy Lay, maybe. So my daughter loves graphic novels, and so I've been trying to pre-read them. They take, 30 minutes maybe. This one is about a family. She is this is our main character. She's the oldest of 5, and her family gets chickenpox, which means she is stuck at home for 7 to 10 days or whatever it is. And she loves going to school because it's a break from the chaos of her family. And she's kind of resentful of the fact that she is the oldest and has to caretake as much as she does. And so she goes through this book, and as they're all home quarantined together, she kind of realizes they're not as bad as it seems. But also, I didn't like this book. I gave it like 3 stars because they ruin a big thing in the first couple pages, and I can't say what it is. And so, like, this was intended for middle grade readers, right? So that was weird. But then also the girls are just mean. Like, she's mean, her friend's mean. Like, there's a lot of meanness in this. And so we're going to take this one back to the library. But on the other hand, I read Dream On by Shannon Hale, and this was so good. This follows this main character, and it doesn't say how old she is, I don't think, but she gets one of those mailers that's like, if you have a gold sticker, you've already won, and it's a sweepstakes, and she's going to get a car and all that kind of stuff. You just have to mail in this magazine subscription thing, $20 a month or whatever. And so she thinks she's got this. She keeps a secret. She wants to surprise everybody she loves. And so that's kind of going on. But then also she's having friendship troubles and things. And she is a girl who feels very deeply. Everything good, she's really great at noticing the good, and she also is really personally hurt by a lot of things, and I could relate to this main character a lot, just because I'm a big feeler as well, and like the way that things may not be a big deal to other people, but they are a big deal to you, and they're intense. And this girl did a really great job, potentially an unrealistically good job of communicating when things happened. She was like, "Hey, I didn't like that you did this, or that this happened." And so it was just so good. And she goes through her friendship problems. She realizes that she's a little less mature, a little more naive than some of her classmates, and that's okay. She just has to find her people. And I loved this. I will definitely be passing this on. This came out in August of this year, and I think there's a sequel coming out in August of 26. So I'm like, gosh, that's so long to wait. But it's worth waiting for, I think. Then let's go into, I don't remember if I talked about this last time, but it was in my book haul revisit, By Your Side by Casey West. This is a YA about people trapped in a library. For the very beginning, that's like what the premise says it's about. But this girl, she gets stuck in the library because she has to go to the bathroom. Her friends all leave. It's a miscommunication about who goes where. And so she's trapped in a library for a long weekend with this guy who's kind of the high school's bad boy. And they form a friendship. She kind of confesses that she struggles with anxiety. And then, they get out and all is well. I mean, not all is not well, because something that happened to one of her friends, they thought she was with them. And so was she involved? No, obviously. And just figuring it all out. And yeah, I don't want to say a whole lot more, but this was a good read. I love Casey West. I love a good YA contemporary to kind of cleanse my palate, and so I would recommend this one. Then we have another one from the book haul revisit, Me Without You by Kelly Rimmer. So this, in the first half, I was like contemplating DNFing it, because the first half is a romance between two very unlikely people. They meet on a ferry. She's a shoeless, vegan, environmental lawyer, all the stereotypes. And he is not. He's a metrosexual kind of guy that is, I forget, he's got some sort of law job or something. I can't remember what his job is, but he's just a little more uptight kind of thing. And they are slowly falling in love. Meanwhile, we get, the majority of the book is from his perspective, and we get little chapters knowing that from her that reveal to us that she's keeping a secret from him. We as the reader don't know what the secret is until a third or maybe even half of the way through. But then once we do, my interest was piqued because I want to know, how is this all going to play out? And the thing I don't love, I thought the romance part, like the falling in love part, was boring, because they were so unlikely matches that, like, long term, I'm skeptical that it would have worked regardless. And so I was just not loving either of the characters that much. I wasn't really shipping them. But then once we know what the secret is, I wanted to see how it would all play out. And so I was interested. I read it. The end is very emotional, but not as much for the romance for me. It's emotional because of the mother-daughter relationship, and then his relationship with his brothers. And so I don't know how I feel about this book. Like, I didn't love the first half, but I did love the second half, with some caveats. So I think it's like a 3-star. Then I read The Loyal Wife by Natalie Borelli. So this is something I read for Shorty September, because it's like 265 pages. And this was not it for me. This is a thriller about a woman. It says trusting her wasn't a mistake, betraying her was. So she finds out her husband's cheating. This isn't the first time it's happened. He is also kind of implicated in a murder that a body has been found. And so on the surface, she's the loyal wife. And behind his back, is she really? Now, my complaint about this book is that all the characters are very stupid, and it's like we're jumping from assumption to assumption and all of them were dumb, and like, I don't know, I just didn't love this book, so unhaul there. Then I'm kind of still going down my vaccine rabbit hole, so I read What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Children's Vaccinations by Stephanie Cave and Deborah Mitchell. So this was really informative, and it had a great amount of science and things, but I didn't realize this was written in 2001, updated in 2009, and so the 2009 is the most recent version of this book. So I did not read it cover to cover, because a lot of the information is outdated. In vaccinations, things are changing so quickly all the time, but it's the history of vaccines, all of that kind of stuff. And then it does talk about specific vaccines, but it also talks about tools and rights that you have as a parent, and questions you can ask, and where you can get information, and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't read this cover to cover, but I did read most of it, and I thought it was informative enough, given that it's so dated. But then I also read Vaccines, Autoimmunity, and the Changing Nature of Childhood Illnesses by Thomas Cohen. This one was interesting. It is it's a broader look. There is a couple sections that are specific, like vaccine, like one is about chickenpox. There's a couple that are vaccine specific, but in general, it is trying to explain autoimmunity, what that means, how your body functions, genetics, all this kind of stuff. So part of it was interesting, part of it was over my head, but then part of it was so left field that I'm like, bro, I don't think this is right. And so I don't know. I really liked his emphasis on like going upstream to treat things. So with like a thyroid thing, you could just put a Band-Aid on it, do thyroid medicine, but let's figure out what is causing your thyroid to, to change. But he also argues that like polio is not a disease. It's a toxin response, which, okay, maybe, but like I don't know. It just got a little out there, a little woo-woo. But some interesting facts and some, like, he's obviously a very smart guy. Yeah, we'll just stop there. Then I read Homeschooling, You're Doing It Right Just by Doing It by Jenny Urick, maybe. This is the author of the person who like has the initiative of 1,000 hours outside. So the initiative is that you should spend 1,000 hours outside in a year because of just the benefits of nature. And she wrote Homeschooling, You're Doing It Right Just by Doing It. And I love these kind of books for the reminder that like, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to do this, that, or the other. Every homeschool looks different. Every way of doing things is different. Every kid is different. But these books also kind of make me smile because this is a very unschooling kind of perspective, and that kids learn way more from real life than from curriculum, which is true. But it's like, gosh, okay, so then have I pushed my kids too hard? Like that is such a fine line of like, letting kids be kids and also educating them in the way that you need to and teaching them discipline, because I think some curriculum and stuff like that teaches them discipline, teaches them work ethic, all that kind of stuff that they can learn in a variety of things. But there's a fine line, and I feel like this was good both ways. It also throws a lot of shade on some other groups, and I don't love that. I don't love, like, there is nothing wrong with public school, private school, homeschool, unschool, this, that, the other. You do you do what's right for your family. We're not gonna do that. And it wasn't bad, but there's a little of that. Then I read The Beach House by Rachel Hannah, which is another one that I read for Shorty September because it is just like 230, 240 pages. And I loved this, but I wanted more. And so this is the start of a series, but this is about a woman who finds out it says she's 43 years old and starting over from scratch, which 43, she feels very young because she has 2 adult children, but it can happen, obviously. But she finds out her husband has been cheating on her. And so she is like, and that he's like been cheating on her for a while, has a 6-month-old with somebody else, yada, yada, yada. And so he's leaving her. And they had just planned to go build their beach house, do their thing. Now she's left with no money, no husband, a mess. And so she goes and gets this like dilapidated old beach house. And the neighbor or something is a contractor. So it's her relationship with him. And her estranged sister also comes in the picture because her mom like kind of rigs this situation to help them get closer together again. And my complaints that this is too short. I was so interested, but it's like a 3.5 star because her relationship with her daughters, very underdeveloped. Her relationship with her sister, very underdeveloped. They are like very mean to each other, like, and very childish at each other. And then it's like, oh yeah, things are getting better. Well, how? Show us, tell us. The romance was underdeveloped. Like it was all just, this needed 100 more pages. Otherwise, and like the next book in the series follows the gal she is like getting a job working for. I think she's a bookstore owner. And her like estranged son, I think. So it's going to be interesting, but it's going to move on. And we'll get more of this character, I'm sure. But this just needed more. So there's that. And then last is a DNF, Lean on Me by Pat Simmons. So this is another Shorty September. She is just under 300 pages, 280-ish. And this one is one I DNF'd at like 25% because this is about a woman who is taking care of her aunt with Alzheimer's. And so she moves to take care of this aunt. Her and her sisters, I think, are like taking turns taking care of her. And I don't know how to talk about this. The neighbor is a jerk. He's a jerk. He is very angry because this aunt keeps like roaming over and sitting on his porch. And he is not understand. Like she tells him what's going on and stuff. And he feels like he's from this town where the aunt's from. So he kind of knows of the aunt. But he like threatens to call the cops on her for elderly endangerment because she's just brand new to this. She hasn't even like interacted with her aunt enough to know like the extent of the Alzheimer's and kind of how to help her. And so he's awful. He talks about her behind her back. They both talk about the aunt in ways that are not great. She does have a good support system kind of like and it shows very much how hard it is to take care of somebody like that and to be a primary caregiver. And so it started to show that, but it was not enough. I did not like either of these characters. It made me feel gross the way they were talking about this girl, this aunt, and the guy was awful. You are not going to convince me to fall for him in a romantic situation because he was awful. So that is everything that I read this last week. It's been a big one. So now we're going to head to soccer, and I'm really in the reading mood. So that's great. I feel like I've read some duds, but that's okay. On to bigger and better things. So let me know what the best thing you read this week was, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.